we're going to have this button when we click on it, and we're going to be greeted with this Google SSO interface. Hello YouTube, this is Frank from Happy Coder, and today in this video I would like to talk to you about how to enable and integrate Google SSO into your locally emulated instance of Supabase. And I was motivated to create this video because I was trying to figure this out by myself, and the official documentation, it was kind of hard to understand. Essentially, the flow boils down to this. First of all, we need to go to Google Cloud Console to either create a new project or to add credential in an existing project, and that's going to give us a JSON file that contains the client ID and the secret. And after that, we need to add these two values into our project's config.toml file for the Supabase config. And after that, the last thing we will need to do is to call the supabase auth.signIn method and elect to use Google SSO as our OAuth sign-in method. So without further ado, let's take a look at how to do that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go to the Google Cloud Console. And as you can see, I already have this project. You can either choose your own existing project or create a new project. And from here, we're going to go down to credentials. In credentials, we will need to click on this button to create a new credential, and that's going to be our OAuth client ID. And in this page, we need to specify what kind of application we're working with. So for me, it's a web application, so I'm going to select that as my type, and we can name it to be whatever. So from here, we need to point the URL to be where your web app is being hosted at. So for me, I have my custom domain, so that's what I need to enter. For example, if your app is being hosted at wordforge.tag, you're going to do that. And for your localized instance, you need to specify where your app is being served at. So it's either localhost 3000. That seems to be the most commonly used port for React or Next.js based applications. So for the redirect URI, it needs to be of a certain format. For example, if your web application is being hosted at wordforge.tag, your redirect URI is going to be /auth/v1/callback. And when you're emulating your Supabase in a Docker container, you need to find out what's the port that your Supabase is being served at. So if you go down to your config.toml file for your Supabase instance, you're going to see, it's going to be port 54321. And these are all the APIs related to your locally emulated Supabase instance. So for our localized Supabase instance, the URI is going to be localhost 54321. Again, same format, auth v1 callback. And after you've done that, it's going to give you a downloadable JSON file that has your client ID and your client and your secret. You need to save it somewhere safe, and we're going to move on to the next step. And the next step is that we need to do some modification to the config.toml file. More specifically, we need to add this section. Okay, using the square bracket syntax to denote that this section is for auth.external.google, and we need to set the enabled property to be true, and the client ID and secret is going to come from the JSON file that you just downloaded from the Google Cloud Console. Here, we're reiterating the redirect URI for the sake of redundancy. I don't think this is needed, but just for the sake of redundancy, we're going to repeat it once again in the toml file. And after that, you can start your Docker container, and in your terminal, you can start your Supabase. And the last thing you will need to do is in your project's logging component, you need to have some sort of markup to render a button that acts as Google login. And on the button's onClick handler, you need to use the supabase.auth.signIn with OAuth method and just specify that the provider is Google. And that's pretty much it. So after that's been done, and after we've started serving the application with Next.js, we can quickly test it out. So if we go to localhost 3000, and in the login page, we're going to have this button. When we click on it, and we're going to be greeted with this Google SSO interface. The sponsor of today's video is myself. I've been building this English vocabulary learning app called WordForge, which allows you to deliberately practice the word you're trying to learn by asking you to construct complex sentences with it and offer you contextual and immediate feedback. So if you're trying to learn more English words, give it a try at wordforge.tech. And if we grant all the permissions and go back to the portal or the dashboard, you're going to see, okay, we have successfully logged in our locally emulated Supabase instance with Google SSO. So that's it, guys. That's everything I want to share with you guys today. I hope you found it to be informative, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye bye.